hey, this, and well, there seems to be a lot of information. And I'll probably just take a picture on here of whatever, and or just make it another just me talking. But anyways, well, where do we start? Apple, I guess. Well, first of all, we got their new iCloud. Basically, their new iCloud is going to allow you to share photos and sync everything, and it will all be free. Basically, it's the whole mobile me. If you guys remember Apple's mobile me and how much of a failure that was, and of course, it was a huge failure. And basically, I'm not going to say, well, I am going to say it, but time that Apple made a service that should have been free finally free. And of course they should have finally have done this, but I just don't know what took Apple so long to get around to doing this. But I don't know, it's just weird for Apple to do this. And then they got their new iOS 5, which will be coming out with all the latest like iPod Touch and iPhone. And the good news is my brother got his new iPhone, so he has the latest hardware, the fourth generation iPod Touch, and it'll be good to see them integrating together, hopefully. But mainly, it's just all been software. And then you got the OS 10, which will be available on their Mac shop, which is kind of weird. And then, oh, what else? Well, the thing that I've noticed that Apple mostly did today was just they talked mostly about software. And this probably goes into the rumors that I've been hearing about Apple and probably going more into software creation since they pretty much haven't done anything with their software in a long time and mostly been doing hardware updates. But the rumor has basically saying that Apple's thinking about releasing OS 10, which they probably should have done years ago. And it's kind of odd that they're also, I don't know, what's the word? That they're finally um, that they're finally getting their software developed into the right area as opposed to their hardware, which they seem to be fucking up on lately. And I'm talking about that whole, you can only use their Apple certified hard drive onto their iMacs, which is not a very smart move from Apple. And then over at Microsoft, their E3 conference, Microsoft basically showed a bunch of games. It's like, yay, great, more games for their Xbox. Now, what was funny was that it was rumored that Xbox was probably going to show off a new gaming console then within that. I guess it's going to happen in the next one. But what makes it kind of weird, other than the set fact that listening to Samuel Tech Geek literally, I don't know, do everything on kissing Microsoft's ass on just about the Xbox 360, was that I don't know. I just found the whole thing to be boring as hell, and of course then they showed two Halo games, which was I don't know. The image of Steve Ballmer literally just sitting in the back counting more and more of his money, saying, "Yeah, release more Halo games." Bungie's not going to be doing them anymore. But then again, according to some people out there, Bungie is no longer a viable corporation because they're no longer owned by Microsoft, and of course a couple of other stuff. Then you got Sony. Of course, they fucked up everything about their PlayStation 3. And most people don't understand. the PlayStation 3, its hardware is completely bullshit, and it's a clusterfuck. And it's been a clusterfuck for Sony. And of course, they're not going to move the move because, you know, they're just going to stick the move on everything because Sony doesn't care about the move. They just put that up there for their stockbrokers or whatever, but they just don't care about it anymore. They know it's a failed product. They know that it's not selling worth shit. So they're just not going to deal with it anymore. And I have to congrats Sony on at least realizing that they have a shitty product. And at least they realize it now. But what can you do? Sony has a crap product and there's not much you can do about it. I mean, there's not much anybody can do about it. The move was a complete clusterfuck. And then you have the, Sony Vita or whatever it's called. More like Sony Velveeta cheese. That's what the title reminds me, okay? It just sounds like Velveeta cheese. Seriously, why did they have to name their name so close to a cheese product? But, anyways, what do I think about it? It does look like a good product. The hardware stuff and all that does seem pretty nice. I do like the whole pricing bit. Yeah, it's lower than the 3DS. Of course, all I can say right now is probably the 3DS is better, but the only reason why I'm saying that is because right now I have the 3DS. I don't have a Vita. Until the actual Vita comes out and I can make a comparison between the two, I can't really say anything is better than anything else. It just would be counterproductive and kind of idiotic for me to just assume right there Vita is better than the 3DS because there are still some problems that worry me. Yes, they're going to have in-game chat, and yes, they're going to make it cheaper, which is good. And yeah, I still have to give Nintendo for at least sticking their head up with yes, and of course the as most of you don't know, the 3DS update finally came today, late at midnight, practically on June the 7th, not the 6th, as Nintendo advertised. Fucking A, Nintendo, seriously. Um, but, and as you know, the eShop completely crashed, but now is back up. And, of course, I got the Excite Bike since it was free. I did not get the whole Pokemon thing because whatever. And of course, I will say this: Nintendo has kept it good on all their promises, and unfortunately, with people like Sam, that's going to fall face flat. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. Apparently, um, Nintendo is the complete and utter enemy and must be destroyed. Because, I mean, the way I look at the 3DS right now, it's a good product so far. And they've kind of clusterfucked a couple of areas, mainly in the battery life. But the Vita probably will be better. Probably won't be better, hardware wise, otherwise. Um, but I'm happy that Sony's making some sort of step up from their disaster known as the PSP. I mean, they are implementing a lot of shit in there, and that does make me worry about the power consumption on their devices. But if they can pull it off, they pulled it off, and I'll say good for Sony. If they don't, well, Sony fucked it up and got another PSP train wreck. But all this is just speculations, and that's all speculations are. Because right now the Vita is not in my hands. I can't look at it. I can't really play with it, touch it, or do anything with it because it's not out yet. But I will say this: the Vita having all these extra shit in there and the lower price does coincide with the rumors I've been hearing about Sony. And of course, the conference that I heard from Microsoft coincides with their rumors that Microsoft wants to concentrate and localize more the casual gamers, telling the core and the hardcore gamers to just fuck themselves. They'll keep a couple of games out for them, but other than that, they're just going to go concentrate because Microsoft saw the money that the Nintendo Wii was making, so they want to turn their Kinects into that. And if possible, and speculate, this is all rumors, that their next gaming console will probably just be weaker and will be basically more of a Kinect like um, family like entertainment system. When Nintendo, their Project Cafe is rumored to be, a more hardcore system, and Sony, and of course Sony has said this. I don't know, and they've said this openly that know that when they shoved too much into the PlayStation 3 and trying to make it more about the hardware was a huge clusterfuck. And of course, the PlayStation 3 was that huge clusterfuck. And rumor has it, and of course now they're saying, well, it's still got like maybe 2 more years. No, it's dead, Sony. It came out. The PlayStation 3 has never had any kind of life to it, and you just need to dump it and go on to your next console. For the love of God, just put that thing out of its fucking misery. Um, but the rumor wise is that their next system isn't going to be so, hardware associated, and they're going to make it more like a PC, and they're going to try to introduce more hardcore based games into that and use more Intel basic chips and sets, and not so much of like cell processor and make this thing like a powerful server that can do all this ultra high 3D graphics shit. Um, oh yeah, one more note. Sam said that 3D is dead and that movie theaters were losing money in 3D films and shit. Sam the Tech Geek, this is my personal message to you. Where the fuck did you pick that goddamn information out of in your ass, apparently? Because I can just show you the movie The Green Hornet and tell you that thing was a god awful piece of shit. 3D filmmaking is nowhere near or close to, unfortunately, being dead. And god awful beast. And yes, most of the 3D films that I've seen lately have been a wretched piece of shit. Uh, but seriously, I mean, 3D movies are still making more and more money for shitty films. So yeah, 3D isn't dead. It's just won't die ever.